Hello, everyone. Welcome to TA Tech Live and this episode of RecAd Savvy, the webcast where we examine all things recruitment advertising and marketing. Uh, you know, Einstein is reputed to have said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Uh, Given the almost endless parade of pundits and prognosticators who have predicted the demise of job boards, I think we could reset that definition to say that the definition of insanity is saying the same thing over and over again and never getting it right. Job boards today are very important both to job seekers and to employers. They remain the principal way, or one of the principal ways, that job seekers look for employment, and one of the principal ways that employers hire talent. The challenge is that today's talent market is rapidly morphing and presents a whole new set of challenges. So, what we're going to talk about today is how can employers and job seekers make best use of job boards? And there's no better person to join me in that conversation than my guest today, who is an old friend and one of the smartest people in the talent acquisition space, the CMO at Lensa, Julie Calli.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much for having me today and on such a great topic.
Well, it's delightful to have you here. If we can get you up on the virtual stage, I'm not seeing you there. So let's see if we can make that happen. Meanwhile, could you please tell us, there you are, a little bit more about yourself and a little bit more about Lensa?
Sure. So, if you don't know me, I am Julie Calli. I've been in recruitment advertising industry for over 20 years now, and I joined Lensa.
Started when she was 6.
Yes, I look young. Appreciate that. So, I joined Lensa last year as CMO, which is one of the largest job boards in the United States. Lensa has an audience of over 20 million registered users. Each day, we're processing over 10 million unique jobs, sending out over 500,000 text alerts and over 10 million job alerts each day. This makes Lensa a powerhouse of market intelligence, and we partner with other job boards and career service providers, operating one of the largest job distribution networks in the space, as well as we partner with direct employers and staffing companies to deliver quality talent fast through our Fast Talent platform. So at Lensa, we serve both job seekers and employers, which is why I'm so happy to be part of the discussion today, because I care deeply about the success and the experience for both of these audiences.
Well, that's great. So let's start with employers. I think today it's accurate to say that there's a bimodal distribution out there. Thanks to application bots, some employers are drowning in resumes, many of which are from unqualified candidates. And on the other hand, there is a sizable number of employers who are really struggling to find quality hires, candidates with the right skills for their specific opening. So, in that environment, what would be your number one recommendation for an employer using a job board?
Well, my first recommendation is that it matters who you work with. You should be working with job boards that provide good partnership for your success. There's many options out there, whether they're niche specific or they've taken a specific area in which they have some unique method in which they're connecting audience. There's a lot of options out there. But what I would definitely say, based on the examples you just shared, technology is emerging so quickly. And what you want to make sure is that you're partnered with somebody who is partnered with you on all those evolutions, working with you very closely on your feedback and building a roadmap that really impacts the problems that you're having. You mentioned that AI apply is something that a lot of employers are experiencing today. Yes. Well, what actions are being taken by the job board that you're working with to improve that or work with that? Because if you're working with a partner that's doing the same thing they did yesterday and you're expecting different results tomorrow, then you're not in a relationship with that job board that's going to evolve as quickly as the tech is. So it really matters who the job boards you work with are. So look for ones with good partnership, that are responsive to your feedback, that accept your feedback. What I've heard from many people is that they are very frustrated by working with very large job board brands, where I'm going to quote someone the other day that said, "I'm tired of working with bully brands." Your partnership with a job board should not be dictating to you what your strategy is. They should not be telling you what your hiring strategy is. They should be consulting with you on how to achieve the best success.
Well, I think that's great advice. And perhaps a riff on that theme is to make sure that you avoid, I think, one of the major challenges for recruiters who are often overworked handling 20, 30, 40 open recs, and that is falling into the rut or the habit of using the same old job board over and over again. There are lots of great job boards. By my count, I think there's at least 150,000 job boards out there in the world. So I think, it's important to be a good consumer. There are some wonderful large job boards that handle the full panoply of job types. But there are also some wonderful niche sites. You mentioned them earlier, sites that specify or specialize in a specific area, geographic area, specific industry, a specific function, whatever the case may be. And it's important, I think, to prioritize the time to make sure that you really get your job opening posted on the right sites with the right partners.
Yes, just as you would have, be working with a financial advisor. They would not advise you to put everything all in one investment place. They diversify your portfolio. Is the same thing that you should be doing with your advertising, recruitment, or advertising in general. Diversify. You should always have about an 80-20 split. Like the things that perform well, allocate 80% of your budget to the things do well. You should leave about 20% of your budget in a space that you can experiment with new and emerging things. How will you ever be able to be part of the next big thing if you're not actively working to be part of that? And leave room, because changes happen all the time in this industry. So if one of those sources that you are allocating 80% of your budget to creates a significant change that impacts your business, where are you going to go to fulfill that next? If you don't have a pipeline of opportunity coming through with other sources, then you really put yourself at risk with all eggs in one basket.
So recommendation number one is make sure that you partner with the best job boards for your company, and wherever possible, the best job boards for the specific kind of opening that you are trying to fill. But that's only half the battle, of course. The other half is making sure that your communication to the job seeker is as effective as possible. And that brings us to the topic of job postings. What are your thoughts about job postings?
Job postings. They are two things in one. One, they are an ad that when you send it to a job board, it must be technically compliant in order to be served to the market. So there's a real thing of making sure your jobs meet the standard to compete in the market. And then I'd say there's a second part to that that's about making it attractive. The first part I'd touch base on here are some of the really basic things. Title. Does your title make sense to people searching for this job? Step back. Maybe share it with somebody outside your organization and let them take a look at it. Does it make sense what type of role this is? Because a lot of times we try to get creative with titles, or our internal jargon ends up in job titles, and then it doesn't make sense to the job seeking audience and they can't find it. That what in most of the search results is based on the job title. So if you don't get that right, you're not going to end up in front of the right candidate. So I highly suggest title's important. Make sure it makes sense to the people that are searching for your jobs. not who the hiring manager is. That doesn't matter. It doesn't have to make sense to them. It has to make sense to the people who have that talent.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that searches for secretary level 3. That just is not something that people will search for.
Yeah, and I've never searched for marketing ninja, right? That's
Yeah.
not a thing. So don't do that. The other is location. I cannot believe how simple this one is, and yet it is one of the biggest problems we often have advertising jobs, is because they're just not formatted in a way that's usable in industry standards. Don't include, a city, a state, and a zip code is a real thing. Those are needed in order for matching to connect to these engines and be distributed through all this technology. It's based on a standardized format. So if your city, state, zip codes are not correct, if you leave them blank, if you're sending over jobs with counties or neighborhoods, most job boards are not going to be able to accept that in a standardized format. And those jobs often just don't even get distributed or sent out or included in distribution networks because they don't meet the standard format. It's something so simple and so basic, and yet it's one of the biggest problems I see people have with jobs is they're just not formatting their locations properly. It's also really important to make sure when you work with a job board, the clarity around the ability to index jobs based on remote, on-site, hybrid, and having clarity to that. Because people search for jobs based on those types of locations, and you want to make sure that you're getting your jobs included in the right place. And the last one I'm going to say on this is probably the most important that's emerging. Those two have always been true, but this one has become very significant in the last few years, and that's salary. Include it in your job. Why this is important, first of all, is you're going to get better performance. Hands down, all the time, guaranteed, I see better performance on jobs that have salary. That's true. That's a fact. Accept that. Now, if you're still hesitant to put it on there, I'd also say this. It might possibly be the law where you are. So make sure you know that as well. Like legally, you could be responsible for making sure that's in there. And the last one is it's the right thing to do. With the way people search for jobs, they care about what, where, and how much. So if you're leaving that out, you're really not setting people up to have the right expectations to align with this role.
I wrote a post not too long ago where I said that the job posting, as it has historically been conceived, is in fact obsolete in today's talent market. Now, that's a pretty bold statement. But unfortunately, most of the job postings I see are either position descriptions or repurposed classified ad copy, neither one of which has the capability of influencing a passive job seeker, a person who is being very careful about where he or she applies for a job. So what I'm proposing is that we reconceive the job posting as a job deal. People want a good deal. And I think they look at jobs and evaluate them based on 5 criteria. You mentioned a couple of them. What will they get to do? What will they get to accomplish? Who will they get to work with? How will they be evaluated? And then how will they be rewarded? I think if you address those things, you're going to have a much higher chance of nudging that person who is sort of on the fence, who is not a super active job seeker, nudging that person into an active status. And I think it's also important to realize that, in today's world, we're dealing with a lot of people who have very short attention spans. So it's important to front load your value proposition so that they get it first, they get hooked, and then that draws them into reading the rest of the job posting where you can provide all the other kinds of great information that you just described. So food for thought for those of you out there watching the program. Maybe we ought to transition from a job posting to a job deal.
I love that the way you're saying that too, right? It's the art of the job deal. We process 10 million jobs each day. Think about that. That's your competition, right? People are looking at more than one job. do not think that you're the only job that they looked at. They're averaging 7 jobs per session, right? So they're taking a look and moving on, checking another one each day. So they're looking at multiple jobs and they're motivated by that job posting as well. Not that interested. Maybe I'll save it. Maybe I'll apply to it later. Are you trying to fill that role today? Create a sense of urgency. Write it like there's something exciting to be there. So there's 2 parts of that. One, you're right. People want to have more information. Who am I reporting to? Who am I working with? They want all that additional information, which lives in the description. This is a text-based ad. You have to sell it in your text if you're working off text-based ads. The role, but also the company, right? Because you don't want to just be selling an opportunity. Are you selling an opportunity or are you dictating roles and responsibilities, right? So the company, the culture piece of that, don't miss that. Employer brand, you have to answer the question in that job because they're asking it in their brain. Why should I work for you and not your competitor who also has a job posted? Why you? What's special about you? And the answer is not, we have competitive pay and a 401k. That's not the answer. Those are benefits that you offer. But why you? What's special about you? That should be included in your job description. Now, that's usually where employer value proposition comes in. There's work that's done by a TA team usually with that. If you have those things done, you can put those into ChatGPT, and then it can help you create better job descriptions based on using your employer value propositioning. So it's really important that you know, right? If you don't know that, I bet your recruiters probably do, right? Because they have to talk to people on the phone and convince them that you're a great place to work. I bet they're using that language, and that same language belongs in your job description. Why should I come work for you? It belongs there.
I think that's such an important point because training your ChatGPT or whatever large language model you're using with your language is incredibly important. If you just tell the technology, the artificial intelligence, to go out and write a good job posting, models are trained on historical data. And historically, most job postings have been terrible. They don't generate any excitement. They don't engage with the reader. So it's important not to just send the artificial intelligence product, whatever you're using, whatever tool, out into cyberspace to get some historically accurate description of the job, but rather it is, I think, incumbent on you to take your employer value proposition, the best language that you've used in your own ads, and to train your model with that kind of data.
Exactly, so that it's more unique towards you. Otherwise, we all have the same job description because AI is putting out the same general thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so anything else before we move on to job seekers? Anything else that you would suggest for employers?
Good partnership, good job distribution that meets the standards so that your jobs can be indexed and provided out into the networks and advertised across platforms, which have technical pieces to them, and then good content. That's it. You want good partnership, good tech, and good content. Those are the 3 that I'd really stand behind to work with job boards. But also in that partnership, they should be able to tell you all the other things that they can do to help support you in your growth. That's why I always lead with good partnership, because they should be helping you achieve your goals.
Great. Okay, so that's one side of the equation. Now let's talk about the men and women who are in transition and using job boards to find their next career opportunity. Job boards aren't the old-fashioned, well, most job boards aren't the old-fashioned classified advertising platforms that we saw in the early days of the job board phenomenon. They've really evolved quite a bit. So how are job boards different today in terms of what they can do for a job seeker?
Well, AI is creating a renaissance of innovation in all industries. That also includes job boards. So job boards are leveraging technology and AI to create more personalized experiences because not everyone is on the same career journey, right? We don't all have the same skills. We're not all in the same location. We're not all working in the same compensation range. So we need more personalized experiences. And AI is definitely making that possible. But also faster and better communication methods, because along with personalization also comes the ability to adjust communications and move them much faster. Better job matching. So definitely we're seeing an improvement across the entire industry and the ability to match jobs. And all kinds of features. I'll tell you what, every day I'm discovering something new going on in the space that somebody's working on right now to create new types of features that provide support for job seeker needs through their journey, all different areas. So I'll give you an example. At Lensa, we launched Career Assistant. Career Assistant creates unique experiences for each user that guides them along their career path. So not just what job are they looking for today, but what job do they want to have in their future. So it helps career path, but also through their job search journey. So it helps search for jobs when you find the job you're looking for. It can recommend content that can help you become more familiar with that industry, with that space. It can score your resume before you apply to the job to let you know how well you might match to that job. Then it also can provide you tips of how you can improve your resume to be a better match before you apply to the job, right? Giving the candidate feedback so they know what needs to be done to be a better aligned candidate with this role. It helps write customized cover letter, looking at the company and the job description, using that information to be able to write very customized cover letter. And then it also provides an interview simulator so you can prepare and build confidence before you go into that interview. And these are examples of customized experiences based on a user selecting a job that they're interested in and helping support them farther down the path in the journey than just click and apply. It's giving them all the support that they need through their experience to have more success in the outcome of that application. So really proud of that, because those are the kinds of things where people had fear and hesitation and confusion along the journey. And now we're able to provide those tools for them all through communication.
So one piece of advice is to spend a little time investigating what are the services that a job board offers job seekers. Yes, it's going to have a database of job opportunities, but what else does it offer that can help you pick the right job to apply, provide the right credentials that will position you most competitively for that opportunity? And then once you're in the funnel, once you're in the process of being evaluated, optimize the presentation of your capabilities, your experiences, so that you're in a good position to win that job.
Yeah. My big recommendations for job seekers using job boards are explore all the features that are available to you. Job boards do provide a lot of features for free. Some that you might go out into the market and see that other sites might charge for, job boards might give to the users for free because they are trying to build and grow audiences. So they offer a lot of value for those job seekers. So explore all the features that are available. I'd also highly recommend to register with the job sites. Identify which ones you want to use and register with them, because the more you can create a complete profile of who you are, what you're looking for, the better that job board can serve you. Also look at the notifications and alerts that they provide and offer. Some people prefer text, some people prefer email, some people want push notifications. All of those are possible things. So you can curate how you want notifications by your own preferences and how frequently you want them. Every day might be too much for you. Maybe you want once a week. You can control those things in most of job boards. Then I'd also say share feedback. I know that I read all the feedback that comes in from our users. We get over 50,000 messages each month from our audience, and I'm combing through those to try to understand what are people looking for? How can we help them more? What are they experiencing? And what can we do to update our roadmap and advance our platform to create better experiences? So that feedback, we listen here at Lensa. So I encourage you to share feedback with job boards so that they can create better experiences for you.
Well, and as you said just a second ago, just as we recommended that employers be smart consumers of job boards and pick the best ones for their particular openings, so too should job seekers do their homework and make sure that they are investing their time and their activity in the job boards that are most likely to yield the best results for them. It might well be a global brand that everybody knows, but it might also be a very carefully focused niche site or some combination of the two. So I think, we want to not only use the job board to its best advantage, but also use the right job boards to make sure that you get the right job search experience.
That's right.
So what else can we suggest for job seekers that might be helpful to them? I was fascinated with the range of services that Lensa provides. For those messages that you receive every month from job seekers, what are some of the kinds of problem areas or complaints that you hear that might be avoided by just changing practices, changing expectations on the part of job seekers?
So job seekers are really confused by what I'm going to say we as an industry put them through. And that's because every employer has choice to choose their own tech setup, their own workflow, their own apply process. So what we do is we invest a lot in technology in this industry to try to make our lives easier. But you have to step back and ask, have we actually made it easier or better? Because in many cases, if we're not doing it right and we're not doing it well, and we're not taking into consideration of the experience that we put job seekers through, we're actually not. We're just spending money and we're making things worse. And I wish we had more time. I'd tell you some true stories about this that I've just gone through recently. But it's a horrible experience and confusing to candidates to be able to be navigated all over the internet, to be sent to apply processes that look like they're from 2002 and really URLs that don't look like they belong to the employer. So candidates don't trust them. They don't want to apply to them. They're confused where they're landing. They don't understand why they have to register to apply to a job that they've just landed there to apply. They're very confused by some of the technology that we're pushing them through. So we really want to be able to partner with companies, and we should be evolving as an industry to improve these processes, because candidates are getting more skittish about where they put their personal information. So they come to an apply process that does not feel trustworthy, they're going to hesitate and you're going to get drop off. And unfortunately, that's the experience that job seekers have, is they're being navigated to hundreds of different places through their experience, and they're very uncomfortable with that. That's the number one piece of feedback that we see from job seekers, is that they're tired of being navigated to all these different places and registering with the same ATS 17 times for 17 different companies. They want a more consistent, trusted, and valuable to their experience way to apply to jobs.
So, we've talked about the candidate experience. It's a phrase that gets a lot of attention. But really, when we talk about the candidate experience, we have to talk about it as sort of a process that begins with the job board, but then carries on, as you were saying, through the employer's applicant tracking system, then through the recruiter's recruiting process. And job boards can get it right. They can match the right people to the right opportunities, and they can move them directly to an applicant tracking system. But at that point, it's the employer's candidate experience, not the job boards. And sometimes I think job seekers don't make that distinction.
Yeah, so I just want to close on that. Good partnership matters no matter what you're working with. So even if it's your ATS, your career site technology, whoever it is that you are working with, you want to have good partnership. Because and I've seen this mistake happen often, is that a company selects an ATS, but when they go to work with job boards, that applicant tracking system is charging them $10,000 or $15,000 a year to connect to the job board. Like, that's just crazy. That is just unnecessary. You should be able, like, an ATS is like a tree falling in the woods. If no one's around to hear it, like, no one is applying to your jobs without the traffic coming in. So the ATS is dependent on job boards to provide that traffic. So if ATS is needed, there needs to be better partnership for them to receive that with better workflows. So I really look to advance that partnership with more ATSs so that we can streamline these processes and make them better for users. Because in the end, the employer is the one that benefits by getting better quality talent if they're able to capture that talent and create better conversion points.
Well, that's a great point to end on. And unfortunately, we've come to the end of our time. So first, thank you, Julie. I really appreciate your insights. I certainly have learned a lot. If somebody in our audience wants to connect with you or with Lensa, where's the best place for them to go?
You can go to lensa.com. And we're always happy to connect with you. But you could also reach out to me on LinkedIn. So Julie Calli on LinkedIn. Always looking for conversation, connections, and partnerships with people who are just as passionate as me in this space.
Terrific. Well, thanks to all of you as well for joining us today on this program. We hope that it's been insightful and helpful to you. And come on back next month for our next episode of RecAd Savvy about all things recruitment, advertising, and marketing. Bye-bye now.
Thank you so much for having me, Peter.
It was my pleasure, Julie. It was a great conversation. So are we out, Stephen?